Hello and good morning. Today is the 8th of July 2024 and I'm going to be looking at my trade checklist for today, my trade plan. Before we do that, let's take a look at the economic news. In fact, that's still not working, I'm not sure why. We've got a separate tab to see what could be moving the market today. There's no high importance news reports coming out today at all, not until tomorrow. And there's no real news at all today, so today maybe just a drifting up or down day. So let's go into, start with ES, which is the S&P 500 futures, and then let's just take a look at some levels. So we've just put in a new all-time high in the pre-market at 56.26 area, and we've taken out the old all-time high from Friday. Notice the RSI is pretty extended and we're way up in the overbought area of the RSI. Let's go to the daily and then take a look at volume. You can see we've been moving up but on low volume, reducing volume. I know we had a day off in between for 4th of July. And we are pretty extended. We're quite far away from the 50, far away from the 20 moving average, and quite far away from the 200 moving average. And we've just had a solid 4 days in a row of movement. Are we going to turn around? Who knows? But what I'm looking for really is a pullback into this region. That's kind of where I'm looking for trend continuation, and that's how I'm going to focus my trading today. I'll be looking at trend continuation. So let's go back to the hourly, and you can see I put some levels in. I was home a bit earlier today, and there's only a couple of areas I'm really looking for. I really want to see it pull back into this region, 56.10. Is there anywhere between? We could potentially look at this region here as well, which is 56.18, 56.20, and that's where the ceiling became the floor. So you can see it broke up, came back down, retested that area. A small area of confidence, but it's a higher risk area because there's not many touches up in this area. We've got a little bit of volume on the profile tool. If I just come over here, got a bit of volume over that area as well, and that level, that volume is right at the area 56.20 as well. So potentially we can look for a pullback into this region for the long to continue this big uptrend we're currently seeing. Maybe a break and retest of pre-market high as well. But, so we're keeping an eye on that today. So, and that's it. If we pull back down, 56.10 is an area I'm watching for a bounce. And then the only other area I can see is 5600, psychological number. Tops of all these pivots as well. And area of confidence, got tops of candles, and then we've got a bit of area where it pulled back and retested it, and that's all I'm watching. There's other areas, there's other levels, older historic levels we've got in there, like 55.84 area, this area here. If we do see a bit of a sell-off this week, then that's an area I'll definitely be watching. But there's nothing really to see or do on ES at the moment because it's so extended. I may look at a few other stocks like gold and silver, but we'll get to those in a second. Okay, I'll come back and see where we are in a few minutes. Excuse me. Let's take a look at SPY. SPY's the same, new all-time high in the pre-market. If we get back down into this 553.77 area, 554, we can watch for a bounce around that. That's the current pre-market low. Or we can look for a break and retest off pre-market high. And that's it, there's no real good levels. If we can get back down into this 550 area, 551, then I do quite like this area for a bounce. And that's because we've got tops of pivots, bottoms of pivots, and it came back and tested this region as well. So we can keep an eye on that. And then I've got 553 as a potential retest area as well if we sell off down into this region here. And the reason for that is got tops of pivots here, came back down, broke through, came back and retested it, but it's very light because it's Friday's highs and Friday's pre-market Friday high, and then the main hour where it broke and retest pre-market. So that's an area to watch about 553. Excuse me. Next up is SPX, and look at this for a bullish run. Green, 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 green. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, maybe 16. I lost count. 16 days, 16 green days. Look at that. We can't even, if you go back to 16 hours, I meant, sorry, not days. Just look at the daily. And 4 days in a row. Don't really get many 4 days in a row there. We had a 5 or 6 days there. Volume wise, below average volume, but you know, we can get below average volume on just trending upwards, and then it's only when we start seeing high volume coming in, that's when we could potentially be looking at ending volume, which we haven't had. We had a bit of high volume here for this day, and that was a narrow range day. Look at that, a narrow range, bit of an anomaly, but nothing really happened. In fact, it just went sideways then. That's when we had that period of about 2 weeks of sideways movement. So let's go back to the hourly and pick up some levels. So the only level I can see for rejection is this 5600 psychological number. And then we've got 5500 down here below for the bounce, and that's it really. Potentially we can watch 5520, 5517, but 5500 and 5600 are the two areas, and we're right in the middle of them both at the moment. Okay, let's look at NQ next. Excuse me, I got a bit of a croaky throat. This is worse levels than ES. I can't really see anything. We could potentially watch pre-market low for a bounce, and that'll be bouncing off the trend line, and that'll be around 25.83, that area there. And we can also watch potentially for a break and retest of the pre-market high. But again, it's higher risk because A, we're into all-time highs and no man's land, you know, uncharted territory. But also we're quite far away from A, the trend line, the 50 moving average, and the 200 moving average, and we've just been on this uptrend for some time. Let's look at the daily again, and look at that for a bullish run, big push up on below average volume. So we are just moving up, and then until we see some sort of ending volume or lack of volume at the top, that's where we start to see lack of sellers coming in and lack of any action, and we may see a bit of a reversal. So potentially we could be seeing a little bit of weakness if there's not much volume coming in. Again, the bounce area will be that pivot there, and that pivot area is around 23.91. So let's just see if we've got any hourly levels other than what we just spoke about. No, that's it. All I can suggest is to bounce at the pre-market low, and that's at 25.83. Let's look at QQQs next. Oh, it's really hard trying to find a level here. Potentially the trend line, but the trend line's now, we can get rid of that. Let's just draw in another trend line. If you link up these bottom 2, 3 pivots, and potentially we may have seen the trend starting to break. We've got this all-time high double top. We could look for a double, a rejection up in this area. That's one thing I didn't mention actually. If we go back to ES, I would it's broken through, so it's hard to find a short. I was going to say, if we're below Friday's high, then we could look for a double top. We could still watch for a double short. Maybe look for the break of trend and then the break down, and you know, that could be the signs of a reversal pattern. But at the moment we've broken that pivot, so it's pretty much off the cards. Let's go back to QQQ again. Okay, the only rejection I can find is maybe the break and retest of the pre-market high down. Higher risk, but we can also watch this area for a bounce because we've got the 50 moving average I meant the 20 moving average coming up into that area as well. But we are far away from the 20, the 50, the 200 that moving average, and we are really overbought on the RSI as well. It's difficult to go long, but it's difficult to go short when it's so strong. There's no real levels I can find. If we do pull back, we've got 488 to 489 tops of pivots here. This zone actually. So this entire zone we can watch for a rejection, and then the only place I can see for a high risk bounce will be pre-market low at 495. So we need to pull back into this area here for the bounce. Up next is crude oil. See, this is looking nicer, more levels. I quite like, we talked about this last week, the break and retest of this level here, and it came into play on the 3rd, last Wednesday. I wasn't around for that, but it's a perfect break and retest of that pivot. In a bit of an hourly downtrend, and we've broken down below the 200 moving average, which we held it here. So we held it here, and we couldn't quite hold it here. It broke down, but come back up and we're retesting it. So potentially we're still in an uptrend as well. Looking at the daily, it's just a pullback on the daily. We got our rejection area up here. We haven't got anywhere near that area yet. Kind of putting in higher highs, higher lows, higher high, higher low. Even that double top was a slightly higher high, the second one. So we're coming into, we're running up this 8 moving average, and we've held it so far. So we can potentially look for a potential break above today's high. So let's go back to the hourly, see what that leaves us. We can watch for break and retest over pre-market high, and that will just hopefully continue in with a potential target of Friday's high. We are coming into an area of higher volume. We've broken through it, and it's potentially a rejection area. We can watch this area for rejection as well. We've got that big pivot there as well. So Friday's low, $83 for the rejection. And if we're going to continue this very minor downtrend, let's draw it again. So this downtrend you're seeing here, we can just look for the breakdown of that level for it to continue back down. And we've got a level specified at 81.78. So let's just draw in a line. Yeah, so it's quite steep to draw a line in. Either way, we've broken the downtrend, so potentially we could be looking for more up movement. And then let's just use this area again here. So you got, if we can close above this 200 moving average, the hourly 200, then we can watch for the continuation of the trend back up again. And we came into this bounce place. We've got this double bottom happening right now. Let's draw it clearer. So we've got a double bottom. You could argue and say that's a double top as well. That's a top there. But we're in an uptrend, and the 200 moving average is still going that direction. So that, you know, we've got to go with the higher probability, and that we're just looking at a pullback. And it looks like a pullback on the daily as well. Next up is gold. Same as well, we came into that pivot, we talked about this as well, it's broken out, came back, and we're watching this area for a bounce, and it looks like we're bouncing. The pivot, we'll be watching this pivot here. So if we can break above Friday's low, and we break that trend, we can go long. We came in, we've retested this area now as well, so it's great. I quite like this actually. Let's zoom out, look at the bigger trend. Broken the downtrend quite conclusively. Broke it here, tested it, broke out, came back, retested some key areas we've been watching. broke out again, retesting some key areas again, which is that key area there. So these levels we've had in place for, well, for most of the year, and we come back in and retested levels which we've been identified already. So I quite like this bounce. So let's watch a break above that pivot there. So 23.84 break and retest long, and then that's to break this downtrend. So we're in a bit of a, it's not even a downtrend, it's just a little pullback on the hourly. So we just want to break that area, and that's the only play I can see really. We can watch for a double top at this end, yesterday's high for rejection, and if we do break down further, we've got a bounce area which is 23.56 to 23.60. RTY, look at that, again levels are working perfectly. Looking for the most touches, we came in especially around this area here, came in, touched it and bounced. Now we're looking strong again. So I quite like the break and retest of pre-market high, or even the pullback into this point of control area, and that will be around 20.50 for the bounce. Target can be trend line and then the break and retest of that trend line. And if I zoom out, you can see I can draw another trend line in here. Let's link these together, and we've potentially got this pattern. And you can see we've been holding it down at this point, we've been holding it down this point here, and we're right in this bit. So something's going to happen in the next few days. Either we're going to break down and continue, or we're going to break out. And then we've been going sideways for some time really. If you look at the grand, if you look at it on the hourly or the daily zoomed out, it's just been sideways, going between these two channels, going between this range. We're right in the middle, so we need to look for a breakout or breakdown. So today we can watch for the break and retest of pre-market high. I quite like that, or the pullback into, so the pre-market high is around 20.59, or we can watch for 20.46 bounce area. Next we're looking at the Dow Jones, which is the YM, and interestingly we've broken out. Let's just put this level in because we've been holding that level for a few days, lots of touches on that area. That was 39.784, just this area here, and we're coming back into that area. Let's zoom in a bit. If we can break above pre-market high and hold it, we can watch for the long, or we're potentially putting in a rejection to come back down to the bottom of this channel, which is back down here again, and that's our bounce area, 39.350. Lastly, Bitcoin. See where we are. We put in this bottom, and then we broke back up, come back in, put in another higher low. So potentially change a trend, but we can't change the trend. We've got this trend line. We need a breakthrough first. Depends where you want to put it. You can put it there, the trend line. That's that pivot touch, and then these pivots. If we can get out over this trend line, then we can look for another push up. But potentially we've got the 200, and we've got this area of confidence just there, and we can look for a rejection off of that trend line as well. Let's look at the daily quickly. It points a slightly different picture when you look at it on the daily. So this is an area we've been watching for some time, saying if it breaks that area, we're going to get some downside, and that's exactly what happened. It broke it, came into this 52,000. I added to my own little Bitcoin pot when it got down there, and then we're back up this area, and I really want to see it come back down that area for either a bounce or the break and retest. Next level will be 40,000. 50,000 is a psychological number. You can see we kind of got close to a pivot there. We broke it, retested 50,000. Not much volume, so not too surprised if we don't break down through the 50,000 and keep heading down to where this next volume shelf is, where there's point of control, and that's at 42,000. So potentially this is our next area we can watch for a bounce. And if you're long term like I've been, I've only got a small amount, very small amount. I'm just adding in key areas, and if we see it breaking down, I'll just be adding a little bit every week, and then we'll see how we go. But originally, when I took out my original small amount of bitcoins, I was adding every week. I think I was adding on all these areas coming down. But I did it monthly, every month without fail. It doesn't matter whether we're down or up. So my average price by the time I finished was about there. And then these red lines at the top was where I took profit on it. And again, I was using volume price analysis. Volume, that means ending volume, which we can see is now correct. And we was overbought as well in those areas as well, which you can see now is correct. So me taking profit out there was the correct thing to do. And now with what I've taken down, I'm just adding it in back down here again, and I want to be adding down as we come back down again. Okay, so let's look at ES before we go, and just look at the order flow, see if there's anything to look at. There's a few things I can see right now. So this is the ES, back on the hourly. So I wouldn't say we're at a key level, but we're at an all-time high and a double top from Friday. So let's flick over to my order flow screen. That's it. I'll be back tomorrow. I've got my live order flows live right now, and that's on my other stream. I think that's it. Nothing unusual other than that. Oh, like I said, the only thing I can see